Is America on the brink of reclaiming its Christian identity? Or are we watching the rise of a dangerous new political movement? Some say Donald Trump is fighting to restore America's Christian heritage. Others warn that Christian nationalism is a growing threat to democracy. But what does it really mean for a nation to be Christian? Is it about faith and values? Or is it a political strategy that could reshape America's future? And most importantly, is Christian nationalism a righteous cause or a dangerous distortion of Christianity itself? Stay with me, because what we uncover today may challenge everything you thought you knew. Let's talk about Donald Trump and Christian nationalism. Christian nationalism is the belief that a nation should be explicitly governed by Christian principles, and that Christianity should shape laws, culture, and public policy. Christianity has influenced laws, culture, and public policy throughout human history, far beyond the modern examples found in the United States. Let's take a look at some of them. First, there's the influence of Christianity on the Byzantine Empire, which is also known as the Eastern Roman Empire. After Emperor Constantine's conversion to Christianity in the 4th century, Christian principles began to shape the empire's legal codes. Under the Emperor Justinian, in the 6th century, for example, the Corpus Juris Civilis, body of civil law, incorporated many Christian values, which in turn helped structure social norms, religious observances, and imperial governance for centuries. One important thing to point out about the conversion of Constantine is that he claimed to be a Christian, but he was never baptized until he was on his deathbed. The Second World Government, influenced by Christianity, was the Holy Roman Empire, which you could also call the Western Roman Empire, and medieval Europe. What happened during this time period? Throughout the Middle Ages, the Roman Catholic Church wielded considerable social and political power. Canon law, or church law, heavily influenced secular legal systems, and bishops or archbishops often served as powerful landowners and political advisors to kings. And I want to submit that although this is historical fact, it isn't necessarily the way Jesus intended for his church to operate. In regions like France, England, and the German states, monarchs and church officials worked in tandem, blending religious authority with governance. The third government influenced by Christianity was the Church of England. When King Henry VIII broke from Rome, or the Pope, in the 16th century, England effectively became a Protestant nation, under a monarch who was also supreme head of the Church of England, or the Anglican Church. And after the Revolutionary War in the United States of America, the Anglican Church became known as the Episcopal Church. However, before that, the union of church and state ensured that Christian doctrine, as interpreted by the Church of England, shaped law, culture, and state policy. Religious uniformity was enforced for many years, influencing everything from local ordinances to international alliances. If you are enjoying and getting value from this video, please give it a thumbs up. In addition to this, there were conflicts between different monarchs, some who tried to take the church back to Roman Catholicism. One of these was Mary I, also known as Mary Tudor, and also called Bloody Mary by her Protestant opponents. The fourth governmental structure influenced by Christianity was Calvin's Geneva. In Geneva, Switzerland, John Calvin's leadership established a form of Christian civic governance. The city's consistory, a sort of church council, held authority to regulate moral behavior and maintain a religiously oriented social order. Laws were guided by a strict adherence to Reformed Calvinist doctrine, making religious deviance subject to civil penalties. And just for reference, the Pilgrims who came over on the Mayflower in 1620 were Calvinists, specifically a group of English separatists influenced by Reformed theology, which is rooted in Calvinism. Over time, many Christian-influenced nations have evolved into more pluralistic societies, though remnants of those religious foundations can still be seen in their legal systems and cultural practices today. So now let's talk about Donald Trump, Christian nationalism, and America. Is Donald Trump a Christian nationalist? No, Donald Trump is not a Christian nationalist. Donald Trump has gained strong support from Christian nationalists and has often used Christian rhetoric in his political messaging. Donald Trump is not explicitly religious, and his nationalism is more about American identity, economic self-interest, and political populism than about enforcing Christian doctrine. And that's good, because enforcing Christian doctrine is outside the scope of his authority as President of the United States. Donald Trump uses Christian symbolism and rhetoric to appeal to his large evangelical voter base. Donald Trump's nationalism is politically motivated and focused on national sovereignty, while Christian nationalism is theologically driven and seeks to reshape society based on biblical law. And my answer to that is, been there, done that, and you can keep the t-shirt. Donald Trump's nationalism and Christian nationalism differ in critical ways. Here are the key tenets of Christian nationalism. First, government should promote Christian values, for example, school prayer and religious laws. Do you think the government should promote Christian values? Let me know in the comments below. Second, Christian identity is tied to national identity. For example, America is a Christian nation. But I want to say right here that our identity as believers in the Lord Jesus Christ is child of the Most High God. The third tenet of Christian nationalism is opposition to secularism and religious pluralism. And fourth, the merging of patriotism and Christian faith. For example, God chose America for a divine purpose. And all I've got to say about that is, Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world," although he is coming back again someday to establish his kingdom on earth. So let's take a look at some of the differences between Trump's nationalism and Christian nationalism in terms of categories. First, the primary focus. Trump's nationalism is focused on national sovereignty, economic strength, and populism. Christian nationalism's primary focus is on religious dominance and biblical law in governance. What about Trump's personal beliefs? Trump is not deeply religious, but he uses Christian symbols for political appeal. However, Christian nationalism is deeply religious and believes America must return to Christian values. What are the policy goals of Trump's nationalism? Trade protectionism, immigration control, military strength. What about Christian nationalism? What's its policy goals? The restoration of Christian values in government, for example, outlawing abortion, bringing prayer back to schools. How about the attitude toward other religions? Trump's nationalism is tolerant of secularism, but hostile to Islam and globalist ideologies. And I just have to say that anybody with a knowledge of world history and the recent events since 9/11 should have a healthy fear of radical Islam. Let me know whether or not you agree with this in the comments below. What's Christian nationalist attitude toward other religions? Well, Christian nationalism believes that Christianity should have privileged status over other faiths because they believe they serve the one true God and Jesus Christ whom he has sent. What about the role of the Bible in government? Trump's nationalism sees religious conservatives as an important voter base, but does not advocate theocracy. Christian nationalism wants biblical values to be the foundation of American law. What about Trump's supporters? Well, Trump's supporters' views of Trump's nationalism is that he is a strong leader who defends national identity. How about Christian nationalism? They view Trump as a divinely chosen leader sent to protect Christianity. Christian nationalism is about governing through biblical principles, whereas Trump's nationalism is about American power and identity, with Christianity as a useful tool rather than the core foundation. Is America at risk from Christian nationalism? For the answer to that question, watch this video next.